Hey everyone, it's Matt Fraser here with the Ecoffee with Experts podcast, sponsored by Digital Web Solutions. Thanks for joining us today. On the show, I have with me Ryan Cote. Ryan is the owner of Morning Upgrade, a business dedicated to increasing the awareness of personal development through a blog, podcast, book, and morning routine cards. He is also the co-owner in his family's marketing agency, Ballantine, which I will say it has been in business for, I think, 65 years. You can correct me on that, though, as well as a real estate investor. Ryan lives in New Jersey with his wife and 3 daughters. Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us today. It's just awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to talking with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you currently live in New Jersey right now. Have you always lived there, or did you live somewhere else?
Yeah, I went to college in Pennsylvania, University of Scranton, so I was there for 4 years, but I've always been in New Jersey. Yeah. There was a small window where my wife and I thought we were going to move to the Carolinas, but then 3 kids later and work is here and family and friends, that's not happening. So we're happy with New Jersey though.
Yeah, I live in a very cold climate, and I've always wanted to move. And one of the things that keeps me tied here is family ties. That's absolutely so. So Ryan, what did you study in university?
I did marketing degree, and I had a minor in finance.
Oh, fantastic!
So I knew I always wanted to get into marketing. I mean, my family business, Ballantine, it's in marketing. It started out with direct mail and not that I knew I was going to go into the family business necessarily, but I knew I had an interest in marketing, websites, SEO and all of that. And so that's why I did it.
So what first got you interested in digital marketing? Like, was it before obviously before college? Was it because of the family business? Was it there other things that you were like, wow, this is really cool?
So I don't think it was the family business, because the family business then was in printing, and it still is, but we have the digital side now too. But I just gravitated towards websites and creating content. I remember I taught myself SEO. I think back to college, starting an eBay store and selling stuff on eBay, and then getting really into affiliate marketing for a few years. And building e-commerce sites. I remember my first job out of college, I didn't go into the family business right away. I had 2 jobs before. And I remember vividly waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning before I had to go to the job, because I wanted to write an ebook on health and fitness and all that. And so I would get up at 5 a.m. I'd write in the ebook, and then just, I don't know, I can't remember how long it took me to create it, but the point is I was waking up early intentionally to work on this digital product that I then would try to sell.
So, right on. So your first job wasn't with the family business. What was it doing?
First 2 jobs weren't. They were still in marketing, but what I did was I worked for 2 list companies, and what that means is, if you're doing direct mail, you have to buy a mailing list to mail the mail to. And so the 2 companies I worked for, we would help our clients pick the right list, analyze the results. So it was still in the arena of the family business, just a different segment of it.
Yeah. And do you think that going to work for another company besides the family business helped you more be well-rounded in your business skills and your marketing skills?
I think so. I mean, I think family businesses, I think it's obviously it's all I've known for the last 20 years now. But I think it's really important that you have experiences outside the family business, like making friends with coworkers, having a boss. Not that I didn't have a boss in my family business. Like my dad, I guess, technically was when he was working in the company, but it's different. You get reviews, and it's just a different experience. I encourage, if you have a family business, that you have 1 or 2 jobs before you get into the family business, just to see what else is out there and experience different work cultures.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me, Ballantine, that's the way you say it, right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, Ballantine. So I know how old it is, and I mentioned that in the introduction, but how old is the company?
Is it, you almost got it right. It's 55 years. We were started 55. In 1966. So that's 55 years now.
Yeah. That is amazing. And it was started by
my great uncle. My great uncle started in 66. My grandfather came on board in 68. my dad in 78, my uncle in 84, and then me and my two brothers in 2003, and then my third brother in 2014.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's predominantly started as a direct mail business, correct?
It is. And my cousin in 2018, if he watches this, he'll be upset if I left him out. So my cousin
okay.
2018.
We'll make sure we mention him. That's awesome. So it started as a direct mail business. I find that fascinating.
It started out as, so the evolution is print and ship work in 66. Yeah. So basically like you need brochures or whatever for your office event or something like that. We print and ship the work. And then we added mailing to it. So now it's direct mail. And then we added copy and design. And then we added digital marketing. So now we have both sides of the marketing puzzle.
So basically you can service both what they call offline and online marketing.
We can, but to be honest with you, like our client base for the direct mail and the digital, it's very different. Like our client base for direct mail are very large companies that do a lot of direct mail and a lot of nonprofits too. Whereas on the digital side, it's more like contractors, manufacturers, software companies, more small businesses that need leads. So while we have two services, we rarely we rarely work on intertwine. Trying to think of the word.
Yeah. I went to a marketing thing one time put on by Canada Post, and I can't remember the name of the company, but they are huge on connecting, sending out postcards and driving people to a landing page and using personal URLs and things like that. I was just curious the question I was going to ask is, maybe you already answered it, but have you seen campaigns like that work?
Well, so we have some situations where we'll work on the client, both direct mail and digital. But we used to do a lot of pearls. About 10 years ago, we were doing a lot of pearls. They didn't really work that great for us. Doesn't mean that they don't work just for our certain clients. They weren't working. Most of our clients, for the direct mail, there's always a call to action to go to a landing page or visit our site. We have some clients where we'll send direct mail out, upload the list to Facebook, and then run ads with the same creative. And so that's been fairly successful. Yeah, it's been fairly. We usually see a lift in the direct mail. It's odd because it's for one of our clients that services a lot of museums, and so we'll send that direct mail and then use the same creative and to send Facebook ads out, and we'll upload the list. And oftentimes they do see a lift on the direct mail when they do that, but in some cases it doesn't work at all. So I think it really just depends on what your offer is. I think it probably comes down to the offer, because for some clients it works, some it doesn't.
So what are some of the keys to effective offers then in doing something like that?
That's a good question.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it comes down to crafting the irresistible offer, like what's going to get your prospect to say, I would be silly not to respond to this. There's this great book by Alex. I'm going to butcher his last name, but I think it's Hermosi. I'm pretty confident it's Hermosi. And he came out with a book that I 100% recommend called $100 Million Offers. And it's
$100 million offers.
It's the kind of book you have to read like 3 times because it's chock full of how to craft that irresistible offer. And he's a crazy successful entrepreneur himself. And it's just all the stuff that he's learned into building an irresistible offer. So I recommend your audience definitely listen or read that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get it as a result of seeing that. So thanks for sharing that, by the way. So how do you measure the effectiveness? Like what sort of KPIs do you set up to measure the effectiveness of these campaigns like this, but also digital marketing campaigns?
Well, so for direct mail, usually it's, their call tracking phone numbers, driving people, driving people to a dedicated landing page where that the only way they can access that landing page is through the direct mail. If we're talking about nonprofits, of course, it's how many donations, how many orders came back in the mail, because they usually have like a return envelope where they'll send back their donation. I'm thinking about for like our travel companies, they're usually driving people to a toll-free number to inquire about a cruise or about a vacation. So it depends on the client.
So mainly it would be, from what I'm hearing you say, is like lead form submitted and phone calls, as well as traffic.
Yep, and traffic. And if we look at digital, of course, it's tracking phone calls. It's how many form submissions you're getting. It depends on what we're talking about. Most of our clients, it's lead generation. And so for us, it comes down to just simply phone calls and form submissions. If you're talking about, some clients want brand awareness, well, then it's more about impressions and, their how many people are searching for their name in Google, like different ways to measure that.
Do you think it's a brand awareness campaign? Are there certain situations or companies that only applies to? For instance, like maybe larger corporations with larger budgets as opposed to like a local plumber?
I mean, if you're talking about like local small business, it for them, it should come down to leads because that translates directly into the bottom line. I think a lot of times the brand awareness is more for the large consumer brands, that of course they want sales, but that brand awareness usually drives the sales because they're doing it on such a large scale. I mean, we do have some situations like we just onboarded a new client 2 weeks ago. I mean, lead generation is important for them, but they're fully. It's a lot. I'd have to go into the backstory of the client, but they don't really need leads right now. But they're still want to work with us because they want to build up that brand awareness so that when they need the leads, we've already set a nice foundation down for them.
That's awesome. What do you think has contributed to the success of being in business for 55 years, considering most businesses go out of business in 5?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, a few things come to mind. Adapting. So like I kind of gave you the evolution of the company from the print and ship to direct mail, copy and design, digital, like layering in all the services, adapting to what our clients' needs are, what the market's showing us. Like, for example, like everyone says direct mail is dead. It's not dead at all. It's changed a lot. And it really comes down to the industry. It's like nonprofit. We do a tremendous amount in nonprofits because they need to use direct mail. And so we just focus our efforts on the industries. So adapting to the change. I would also say we're pretty relentless as a company on sales and service. I know that sounds pretty fundamental, but it's hard to do it day after day after day after day, year after year, like a relentless drive to win new business and to take care of the business that we have. And then we do our best to make the company a good place to work. I'm not saying we're perfect, but we really try to put our team first and do the best we can to make sure they're happy and that they're growing and, all of that. So those are the things that came to mind for me.
What are some of those things that you would say you do that a business can do to make team members happy? And
I'll tell you what we, I'll tell you what.
Huge thing.
I'll answer that based on our experience.
Sure.
Now we're remote, so it's a little bit different. There's pros and cons to that, but it's really just being flexible with them. Like if they need to take off or something, not being a stickler for you can't leave because of this. Like trying to be more flexible with their schedule. If they have a doctor's appointment, being very flexible with them. Obviously, pay is important, but certain perks, like, we try to do, well, when we were in the office, we would do quarterly get-togethers, like go out, like race car driving and like go-kart driving, cool. And do like arcade, like, grab some drinks and food and go to an arcade. Now we try to do like a happy hour over Zoom or, for Christmas, we mail presents to everyone and we get together and we open them up on the Zoom. That seems to resonate pretty well with everyone. I've got a book club that I started. I'm kind of like a crazy person with personal development. So now I started a book club where we read every Friday, we get together and we read a book around personal growth. Like right now we're reading Who Moved My Cheese? And that's been pretty good. Half the company is participating in that. So just bringing everyone together.
Well, that's awesome. And that's a cool idea. You had mentioned you're into personal development and you started you're the owner of Morning Upgrade. So where did the idea and the inspiration to start Morning Upgrade come from?
I think it's because my brain never rests, but the more tactical answer is that I've always been into personal growth. It really started to get heavier in like 2017, just because of some situations. I was just like, I've always been into it. Like even going back to like college, I was reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Thinking Big and things like that. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm just wired that way. Like that 1% better every day, like the working on your investing in yourself. It just always clicked with me, like resonated. I can't explain it. It's like a hunger I have. Not that I'm not happy. I'm content. I just am always, I don't know, looking for that 1% better. And so, okay, to go back to your question, I was writing about personal development on LinkedIn. And then in April 2020, when the world was ending, I had a thought like, maybe I should try to create a brand out of this. I'm already creating the content. Why put it on LinkedIn? Why don't I just try to create something out of this and then make it bigger and help more people and have more impact and just see what I could do with it. It'd be fun. And so it started off as a blog, and then I added a podcast. I really didn't want to do a podcast because it's just extra work and I didn't know how to do it, but I was like, I need to have one. I feel like it's really important. So then I added a podcast. And then I created my first product, which is morning routine cards. And then I wrote a book, And so I've been just evolving and learning as I go, because it's all new for me. And what's next? I don't know, maybe a mastermind. I don't know.
That's cool, man. So how do you manage all of that between your role at the family business marketing agency, your family, and Morning Upgrade?
I'm just a terrible father. I don't pay any attention to my kids. No. It comes down to, in my opinion, just time management, working on the things that are going to move the needle. There's a lot of things you can work on. But there's only a few things that really matter that will move the needle, like the whole 80-20 principle, or looking for like the small hinge that will swing the big door. I've also been trying to get better at just delegating. Like this year, I made a really concentrated effort to be clear with my team on what the expectations are, what I need them to handle, and so that I can focus on the things that I want to focus on, like doing these interviews or trying to find new clients or ways to do things better. I mean, I do put in a lot of hours, I guess. I mean, I do work at night too, but I try to be very deliberate about time with my kids. The weekends, I've been, taking them to movies and out to restaurants, try to spend time with them. I think it's just being intentional, focusing your time on the things that matter and then being intentional. But it is not like a perfect science by any means, but it's just do the best you can.
Are there any strategies you use, or for instance, there's David Allen's Getting Things Done methodology, or calendar blocking, or anything like that?
Well, I have a morning routine, and in that morning routine, I set a priority list, so I know what's important for the day. I exercise every day, which I think helps keep my head clear. I don't time block, though. I know that is valuable. I just don't personally do it. I try to be careful about going down rabbit holes, only working on things, like I said, that are important. And that's like a muscle that you have to get stronger. And it gets easier over time. But yeah, no real strategy. It's just trying to be careful about what I'm working on. And is the
right thing at the right time?
Yeah.
So do you find your brain, you mentioned something very interesting, that it's a muscle that you have to exercise. Do you find that it is indeed, your brain is like that as you've grown, that it's, because people can follow the rabbits. I know I can. And so if you intentionally, are there things that you've intentionally done to exercise your brain to be able to focus on those things?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm like anyone else. Like, I don't have my phone on me because I wanted to be present here, but like if you don't have your phone on you, you feel like your mind's like, where is it? And you want to look at it and stuff. And are you thinking about it now? Your phone?
Yeah. Like, do you know what I do? I will take my phone, put it outside in the glove box in the car, and lock it in there.
That's a great idea. But so what I do is, in my morning routine meditation, that definitely helps calm my brain, and you have to sit there in silence and in solitude, and that definitely definitely strengthens the focus. Personally, and this might be a little bit of a hack, and I heard this on a podcast. This is nothing that I thought of, but reading a printed book. Like, I read books every day, and reading a physical book where you can't multitask when you're reading, it's impossible. And so you'll find that when you're reading a physical book, at least to start, your mind's like, hey, get me out of here, I want to do something else. But over time, it gets easier. And so I look at meditation and I look at reading a physical book as exercises to strengthen my focus.
That's awesome. I've had that experience, and I started reading books on Kindle instead of physical books because they're instant access and don't have to wait for their shit, and they take up less space. But I hear what you're saying. So Ryan, you mentioned that you transitioned to a remote company. I assume that's as a result of the world falling apart in 2020 because of the pandemic.
Yeah. We had this really nice office, and we pushed everyone remote because of the pandemic. And then we're like, well, we really don't need this office because all we need is phones and computers. And honestly, everyone wanted to work from home. And I personally have always wanted to have a hybrid work style. I just like, if the team can't do it, I shouldn't do it. And so, and I think back now, like going to the office for like 20 years straight every day, I don't know how I did it. It seems like a slow death to me now. And so having a more hybrid, like I'm in our office right now, but then I work from home some days. And so, but we pushed the whole team fully remote. A major advantage that we're seeing is it's so much easier to hire now. Like we used to stick to like a 15-mile radius around our, where we were located in New Jersey. Well, now our last 2 hires were Florida and Philadelphia, 2 like rock stars that we would never have entertained because they live far away.
Yeah. So the limitation of having to be physically present, and now that has opened up your business to be able to hire better talent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just easier. Like we could find people much quicker now. And so, I mean, there's pros and cons like anything. Like I feel like, and just based on what they've told me, everyone feels like they have just a more fulfilling life now, better work-life balance. In our space with the marketing, it's like, it's obvious if the work is not getting done. So I'm not worried about that. Plus our team is really good. So I trust them. So I'm not worried about that. The one con that I could think of is that it's hard to, like when you're in an office physically together, it's easier to develop those bonds because you're around each other. The normal chit chat is just a byproduct of being around each other. Well, that's all gone. And so like for the new employees, especially the ones that are like out of state, and even if they're not out of state, you're not seeing people as much. It's really hard to form that bond. So we try to do video calls as much as we can. And that seems to help, but it's not the same thing as like a face-to-face meeting.
No, but at least some of those things you mentioned, like having a book club and offering that to employees and some of the other things that you mentioned earlier in the call, in the interview, I mean.
Yep.
So what do you like most about digital marketing, Ryan?
What do I like most about digital marketing? I mean, I like that every day is a little bit different. Like my days are, because we've got different clients come on board. We're doing different work for them. There's different challenges that come up. So every day is very different. And I just gravitate towards digital because I understand it, and so it's my world. And so like, it's nice to work in an environment where you feel like you're good at it, and so it's very fulfilling. And it's always changing, that's a con too, though, because it's so much, but that's what I like about it.
It is, isn't it? There's always, so how do you stay up to date on all those changes that are happening all the time?
Honestly, I try to stay in our lane. Like we do a few things really well, like a handful of things really well. And I try to really, stay in our lane and just try to focus on those things. I don't, like, for example, we don't do anything with TikTok. I can't stand TikTok, but we don't do anything with those. Not that we won't ever, because it might be a time where we need to, like I said before about adapting, but, there's certain like newsletters I subscribe to, like Marketing O'Clock, Search Engine Watch. And I subscribe to the newsletters. I read them every day when they come in, or every week. So I'm not like completely oblivious to things that are changing, but we have our core services and we try to stay in the lane and improve those services every year. What can we do better here?
Are there certain, if a certain client asks you for a service you don't offer, I'm assuming you turn them away or refer them to someone else?
sometimes it depends. Like we're onboarding a new service right now. So like you have to adapt. Like if a client's asking for something or if we feel that there's a new service out there that's in our client's best interest, of course we're going to look into it. And so we're slowly onboarding a new service right now. So it just depends. Like if it's completely different than what we like the new service that we're onboarding right now is like cold email outreach for our B2B clients. And so that's not so far removed because we were doing monthly email newsletters for our clients. So it's like, it's different, but it's sort of the same and it's they need. If a client sent to us, can you help me with our TikTok ads? I'd probably say no, because we just don't know it. And I don't see us having this need with other clients. And I don't want to learn on you. So it's just not a good fit.
Yeah. So, I noticed the types of services you've mentioned. Could you tell me a little bit about those, the services your agency offers?
For digital?
Yeah, for digital.
The stuff that we do.
I don't want to make assumptions. Yeah, I don't want to make assumptions. I'm assuming you offer like SEO and PPC and social media management.
Yeah. So the stuff we do day in and day out, the work that we actively seek is SEO, Google Ads, content. Those are our top three. And then we also do like email newsletters. We do a little bit of social media, but really honestly, the social media is more of a platform to distribute our content. So we usually put the content on like LinkedIn or Facebook and then run ads so that, while we're waiting for Google to find it, we're pushing it into the news feeds. We don't have a lot of social media work where we're coming up with these really creative campaigns. This is not our strong suit. And so we focus on what we're good at.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to measure the effectiveness of organic social media marketing. At least other agency owners I've talked to, some of them they don't even offer it at all. They refer it in-house because it's just too hard to come up with that. It's hard to scale. It's hard to come up with the creative, and it's hard to measure the effectiveness of it. So that's really
because it's. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it also. At least in our client base, they like to handle it in-house, or they think they can handle it in-house better. And sometimes they can, like if we're not on site with them all the time. And so it's social media, like the organic postings, we don't really actively seek it. We only do it if the client really insists that we do because they want all the work with us. It's like same thing with website development. We're pushing that out as well. I just don't want to handle that work anymore. And this year we made a strategic decision to refer those leads to a couple of agencies that we trust, that we know that they're going to take care of the client, and that they're not going to try to take the digital away from us. And that's been a really sometimes you get a gain by removing. And in that case, that was the case for us.
Oh, that's awesome. So you stopped doing web design and development and partnered with a strategic partner in order to be able to focus more and scale your business to be able to grow. Is that correct?
Yeah, like we have an agency partner that's in my mastermind. I've known the owner for a bunch of years, and so we refer the work to him. We still have some lingering projects from last year, and we'll take like small little like updates to a website, like where they need things fixed. But really, I'm trying to push all that work away to partners that we trust, and then we can focus on the services I mentioned before. That's really what I'm trying to do. I mean, this is like, as I mentioned, this is new. As I'm mentioning this is new as of like this year. But so far, it's been going fine.
Oh, that's awesome. So what does a typical onboarding process look like for a client, or what does that look like for your business?
So what we do is we come up with a kickoff document where there's a whole bunch of questions for them about their positioning in the market, their differentiators, their goals, all of that. Well, the start of the document is like what the scope of the work is that we're helping them with, who their team is with pictures. And then we have a bunch of questions for them, like about 2 pages of questions. And then we outline like what the next 30 days look like, and then what we need access to with videos and how to give us access. And then we have that in Google Docs, and then we send it to them. And then we have like a 2-hour meeting with them, a video call like this, where we just go over the document and we type in the answers into the document. And that way at the end of that call, we have a really fully fleshed out kickoff doc that gives us a step in the right direction. Of course, we might need more information from the client, but it's a pretty intense meeting, and we get a lot of that information. And then from there, we schedule the first monthly meeting, and then we're off, off to the races. Busy beavers, getting everything set up and going for them.
Mm-hmm. So is that the basis for developing the digital marketing strategy?
It is. Yeah, it is. Because we ask who their customer is, what keywords do we think they're going to use? What content will resonate with them? What questions are you getting a lot of? So we try to understand who their customer is, what products they want to push or services, industries, their competitors. Yeah, and you're right. You're right, Matt. That then dictates the strategy.
I noticed you mentioned you do PPC, Google Ads, and SEO. When coming up with a strategy for a client, how do you decide how much of the budget to allocate in regards to those marketing channels, or all the marketing channels, for instance? Like, just hypothetically, let's say we could come up with any number, but a business has 40 grand to spend in a month. Like, is there a certain percentage that you think should be allocated towards certain channels? Or
that's a good question. I actually have a call today at 3 with a potential new client, and that's basically the conversation we're having. He gave us a budget range, and then I came up with 2 strategies I think are worth discussing with him. And so it's really just based on, it depends on the channel, of course. Like, we've got specific pricing for email newsletters, whether it's once a month or twice a month. But if we're looking at SEO and Google Ads, SEO, it depends on how competitive their market is, how many links I think we need to build for them, how much content we need to produce for them. For Google Ads, honestly, we usually start off with a set budget for keyword search campaigns and then remarketing. And then we see how that budget works out for us. And if we need more or less, and then do we need display? So it just depends on the client, their goals, how competitive their niche is, and honestly testing, because we don't know until we start running the ads, because every client's a little bit different. So it's a lot of testing. It's why we also do biannual strategy reviews. So every 6 months, we're looking at what we're doing for the client, the good and the bad, and then we come to them with a recommendation. Like, okay, we've been doing this for 6 months. Here's what we're seeing. Here's what's good. Here's what's bad, and here's what we recommend as next steps. And that's another Google Doc with another conversation. And just the concept of I don't know if you're familiar with Kaizen, but the concept of continuous improvement, that's what we're trying for there.
Yeah. I worked for a Mazda for a while. I was actually the marketing director of a Mazda dealership. So I know totally, being a Japanese word, a Japanese brand, I totally know what you're talking about. Their word for continuous improvement. So that's awesome. There's just give me 1 minute here. I got some other questions to ask you.
Sure.
How have you seen digital marketing change over the years?
It's getting more complex, to be honest with you. It's SEO. I remember SEO back in 2009, 10. Man, it was easy. Honestly, it was just link building. It didn't matter how crappy the links were. Just pound those links, and it would work. It's much more complex. It's good for us because it gives us, clients need us more than ever. But it's harder because it's more competitive. You can't just rely on links, even though they're still a factor. You have to consider Google Maps. You have to consider the website, the load speed, mobile friendliness, the technical side of it. And so it's just getting more complex. Even with Google Ads too. You're bidding on keywords, but there's a lot more that goes into it. And then you consider shopping campaigns, and so I would say it requires a lot more expertise now and a lot more just strategy, which isn't a bad thing, but that's just how it's changed.
Yeah. In regards to Google Ads, for instance, do you prefer manual bidding versus automation? There's a lot of talk about automation with Google Ads. Even platforms such as, other platforms. I don't want to mention platforms, but there's platforms out there that let you, to a certain degree, manage Google Ads and automate it a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest. So I'm not the one running the ads. I'm not the best person to answer that, but I will say that I know what we do is a manual process. We used to use Word. Can I mention a platform or no? You said not.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We used to use WordStream. We don't anymore. I think they changed too. They're not software anymore, if I remember correctly, but we used to use that for not to automate anything, but just to give us recommendations that we might not have considered. a lot of what we do is manual, like, scanning the search queries to look for the negative keywords, because we've got some clients where, like, we have one client that makes industrial mixers, and you can imagine industrial mixers and like a Cuisinart mixer, they could be kind of the same thing, but it's not the same thing at all. And so managing those search queries and the negative keyword list, it's a lot of that, like just making sure that the traffic coming in is as good as possible.
Relevant. Yeah. There's you could blow a huge amount of money on negative keywords. Yeah, I mean, a platform I was had in mind was Optio. I used to use Optio quite a bit. Not sure if you've heard of that or not, but anyway.
No.
What qualities do you think are required to be effective in a digital marketing role, in your opinion? Like, for instance, the people that you're looking for that you've hired, these two new hires that you hired, what qualities did they have that you looked for to bring them on board?
Yeah, I'll answer that from our perspective. Obviously they have to have digital marketing experience, but honestly, like, what we're doing here is not rocket science. If they're smart and they have a hunger to learn, we could teach someone with no experience, but we do look for some experience, so that's not completely new to it. And it's really, for us personally, it comes down to attitude. Like, they have to be a good person that wants to work hard, that works well with others. Because like they're working with our clients and the team, and they have to produce good work. And so for us, a lot of it's attitude. And I'll tell you what we do in the hiring process. We always give homework. No matter what role it is, we give them homework to do before the interview and then during the interview. And oftentimes the hire comes down to the person that put the most effort into the homework. And I see like the gamut, like some candidates, it's like they worked on it 5 minutes before the interview, and some I'm like, whoa, man, they've been working on this for days. It's like a PowerPoint presentation, and right there, it's like very clear that what their attitude and their work ethic is.
Wow, that's an amazing tip, man. That's so cool. So you mentioned that you'll hire someone without any experience. What would you recommend to someone, like, when you were just starting out? Sounds like 20 years ago. What would you recommend to someone who is just wanting to learn about digital marketing today? What steps they should take?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a real life example here. So, one of our SEO specialists who's been with us for 4 years now, I think it is. When he came on board, his previous jobs was like real estate and something else I can't remember. No digital marketing experience whatsoever. Okay.
Wow.
But during when he submitted his resume, he had started teaching himself SEO. And when he submitted his resume, he attached like a whole audit that he did on a website. He's like, I know I don't have a lot of SEO experience, but I've been learning it. And here's an audit I did for this website. And it was like a 4 or 5 page like analysis of like their rankings, their content, their metadata, all that stuff. And I was like, it showed effort, showed like he's got the hustle and the hunger to really want to do this. And then we brought him in, we liked him, and he did well on the homework again. And so like that. So I guess to answer your question is put in the effort, you have to rise above the noise. And so when you're applying to a job, or if you want to get into digital marketing, have the hunger to teach yourself, take your self-education very seriously. And then when you're applying, just don't just submit a resume, especially if your resume has no experience, like actually show the effort, whether that's in video, or a document that you put together showing that you really want this job and you're hungry to learn.
So Ryan, what would you say is your greatest digital marketing success story?
The first thing that came to mind is, I got one. It immediately came to mind. So we have a client that manufactures iron doors. And so this guy bought this business from another guy who had like really no online presence. He was just more like word of mouth. And so he bought this business. It came with a website, but no digital marketing presence whatsoever. And he found us. And, a few years ago, I think it's now been, we started helping with all his, Facebook ads, SEO, Google ads, content, the whole thing. And it's not just us. Like the results have been really good, but he also has a very, very good sales process and a very good product that's in demand right now. And it's just blowing up for him. He's now got 3 locations, more leads than he honestly can handle. And it's been a really, really good marriage between us two.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. So Ryan, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions to wrap things up here. Just 5 really quick questions that I wrote down.
Hopefully I can answer them.
Yeah. Well, what is your favorite food?
My favorite bad food is pizza. My favorite good food is salad. So pizza and salad.
Cool. What is your favorite season?
My favorite season is spring.
Spring?
Not too hot, not too cold.
Cool. What is your favorite meal of the day? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I don't eat breakfast. So like right now I'm starving, but
okay.
I would say my favorite meal is, I want to say dinner, especially now because like we get to do a lot more family dinners. Not trying to sound like the dad of the year here, but it's the truthful answer. We get to do a lot more dinners together because I'm home more, and it's just the way things have worked out with the pandemic and all that stuff, the new arrangement. So I would say dinner.
Well, that's awesome. And what time do you usually wake up in the morning?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Do my morning
last
routine.
Question. Oh, right on. Do you think? Well, I'd love to talk to you more about that, but we're running out of time. So your morning routine and stuff like that. What is worth spending more money on?
Yourself, your personal growth. Yeah, it's the best
personal growth.
The best investment you can make. Do a morning routine, consume positive content, audible books, podcasts, and just take your personal growth really seriously.
Right on. Well, hey, Ryan, I want to really thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And if people want to learn more about you, Ryan, where can they find you online?
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. It was really great talking with you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah. 2 websites. The morning upgrade is morningupgrade.com. And then Ballantine, my marketing agency, it's ballantine.com.
Okay, right on. Thanks very much for that. And if you want to follow Ryan and connect with him, make sure you go to those places. Thanks again, Ryan. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.